So, now that I am filming this, I actually just realized that we have never covered a cold case here on this channel. I've never done a cold case, I think, because I like to know what happened. I like to know the end result. Or maybe I covered one case where this woman kind of just left her family, but this is different. We're going to be talking about Sneha and Philip, who was a medical doctor who literally lived down the street from the World Trade Center. It's suspected that she may have died as a result of the attacks by maybe helping people there, offering her medical assistance. However, there was no definitive proof that she was ever actually there, which made me think that how many people have died, have been a victim of true crime, who have been taken out, and it was kind of at a time that lined up with some natural disaster or some terrorist attack where their death was just ruled as a part of that terrorist attack and not what it actually was, which was a possible a murder. Because with Sneha, we have these two possibilities, and I still don't know which one I lean towards. Okay, we gotta get into it. If you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to do so. And let's talk about Sneha, because when these kind of things happen, I actually don't know how the family moves on. Yeah, it's like you think that person is just gonna come back home one day. But let me tell you a little bit about Sneha. So Sneha actually grew up in Kerala, India, and she has two brothers. And she moved to America when she was about like 7 or 8. Her parents moved the family to upstate New York, and that's where she grew up. And she actually was a very creative girl, very much into the arts, and she loved painting and just being super creative. And she was a very outgoing and friendly girl, as we will see later, because it was very easy for her just to strike up conversation with strangers and go out by herself and have a good time by herself, just meeting people out, which could be a bad thing sometimes, as we will learn. So, as Sneha got older, it was time for her to choose a career. So she went to Johns Hopkins University, and after that, she decided to follow in her father's footsteps and study medicine. So she moved to Chicago, where she went to the Chicago School of Medicine, and she became a doctor. Now, actually, before she graduated, she met a man named Ron Lieberman, who was 1 year younger, or like 1 year behind her, and they fell in love, and they actually decided together that they would take a year off, or she took a year off of school to travel around so that her and Ron could graduate together and move on from university together, to build their life. So that's what she did, and when they finished school, Ron actually worked in the ER at a hospital in New York, and she worked in a hospital as well as a resident. They're doing the residency now. They fell when I was 9 years old. So I don't remember seeing them. However, I think they lived in a prime location. So they lived about a 7-minute walk away from the Twin Towers. And they had a pretty interesting marriage, to say the least. Maybe nothing too bad, but it wouldn't work for everyone, I guess. Now, on the outside, well, I will say why, maybe it sounds so dramatic, but anyways, from the outside, it seemed that Sneha had it all together, right? I mean, look, she got married in 2000, a really lovely wedding, and they got a really nice apartment in Manhattan, and, you know, she had her career, and they were doing pretty well for themselves, and, she really looked like she had it all together, but things were really crumbling, for a couple different reasons. And now I don't think her parents knew what was going on, because they definitely would not have accepted this. But Sneha was actually having trouble in her career. At the hospital that she worked at, she actually got fired because she was dealing with some deeper issues, and she would show up to work literally drunk, visibly drunk, and she got let go, started at a new hospital, and here it seemed that she got suspended because she wasn't showing up for meetings with like a counselor or somebody to help her with the alcohol problem, which it's really nice. I didn't realize that hospitals did that, like trying to help her keep her job, because you can't show up to work drunk, but to provide counseling and having these scheduled meetings to help you in this personal aspect of your life, which would in turn help you keep your job, was really great. But she would miss her meetings, not go, and she still had these, you know, problems with the alcohol and just drinking. Now, when I talk about our marriage and how it probably wouldn't work for a lot of people, but it didn't seem to be a huge problem to Ron, it's that there would be quite a few nights, often enough, that there was this kind of a gentle rule in a way, or request, because what would happen is Sneha, she would get off of work and she would just go out to different bars or clubs, and she'd be out so late. Her brother and her cousin actually didn't live too far away from that area that she would go out in. So yeah, she would go out, and sometimes she would go sleep at her brother's house or her cousin's house, which is great to have that option. Or she would actually just go home and be with strangers, literally people that she had just met that night, and, you know, just drinking with, having a good time with. You don't know these people. That's not really great, but that's what she would do. Now something happened with her and a coworker when they were out one night. She said that this coworker had groped her, touched inappropriately, and it was serious to the point where she actually reported it to the police, and this coworker was in jail. However, after an investigation, I guess the story didn't add up, and it actually turned on Sneha, and she was put in jail, because it was found out that she had lied on this guy, and, you know, you can't do that. So she went to jail for this, not for too long. So, you know, this was very concerning. You know, she was actually very close to her mother. She would talk to her mother literally every day. police perspective was that they were working on this. Like, this was just one issue in their marriage that they were working on, but besides that, they were doing pretty well. Now, what wasn't well was that apparently Ron's brother found Sneha in bed with his wife, and they weren't just watching movies. Yeah, which is why I said that she may have been struggling with her sexuality, which she definitely couldn't tell her parents that. That's just that's not acceptable. But it's so weird around the case of Sneha because it seems that the family never really opened up, and Ron never really opened up about Sneha and what's actually going on, and a lot of things were like, no, that's not true, no, that's not true, but this is from a police investigation, and, you know, it wasn't just made up, but, you know, yeah, it's just, anyway, so, this is what was found out from a police investigation, and it's in the court documents. So, let's figure out why they would think that Sneha was a victim of the Twin Tower attacks. So, we are going to go to the morning of September 10th, 2001. Normal day. She had the day off of work. Ron was out at work. Sneha had actually talked to her mother like she did every day. And, she was actually cleaning up the apartment because her cousin was coming to stay with her for a few days, so she wanted to get the place nice, presentable, and ready. And after, I would say about 4 p.m., you know, she left the apartment. When she left her glasses. I believe it was just her glasses, but she took, because she wore contacts. So, she had her cell phone, of course. She had an Amex card that her and Ron shared, like a joint bank account. And by the way, Sneha at this time is about 31 years old. So, just to give you some perspective on her age, so she's like 31 years old, living in the city. And anyways, so she talks to her mom and tells her that, you know, she's gonna go do some shopping and then go to the Windows of the World, I believe that's what it's called, the restaurant in the World Trade Center. It was a beautiful, beautiful restaurant, oh my goodness. Definitely the must-go-to place. Has anybody ever been there? I would really be interested. Anyways, that's where she was going because her cousin was going to have a wedding there the next spring. So I guess just to go scope out the place and see what it would be like. So, anyways, at 4 p.m. she leaves and she goes to Century 21 to do some shopping. And while she's there, she buys 3 high heels, she buys lingerie, she buys stockings, things like this. And we actually see her on the CCTV footage doing her shopping. And on the footage, she's alone. However, a store clerk claimed that, or there was a sighting or something of her with another Indian woman. Which, who was this person? We don't know. She was never on camera with her on the CCTV footage. So that person is unknown, but raises a question in our minds of, okay, who is this person? So this is on September 10th, right? So then she goes up to the restaurant to go see the restaurant, and from there she leaves. And it seems that there's some grainy footage of her Now, we don't know for sure that this is Sneha because it's so blurry, but the family thinks it's her from what they can make out. And she leaves the apartment. Now, this right here tells me one of two things that's suspected by many is that maybe one, she left her bags somewhere and she left out to go and get them, which I think is kind of unlikely. Like, who just leaves the bag somewhere? I don't know, but maybe that's what happened. Or she got robbed or something, but we don't know. And yeah, like, if that's her, why didn't she have the bags that she just went to go get on her shopping trip? So this is strange. Anyways, it seems that she goes out again that night. She just, like, doesn't come home. Now, this again, it's not out of the ordinary for Ron. So Ron gets home early or really late actually. I think he got home at like around 11 or midnight because that was, you know, that's his schedule in the ER. He got off really late. But it's not unusual that she's not there, so Ron goes to bed and wakes up around 6 and she's still not there. Typically she comes home, like I said earlier, between 7 and 9 a.m. and it seems that at 4 in the morning there's a phone call from the apartment to Ron, but this could have just been a mistake on Ron's part, thinking that he's, I don't know, like maybe he accidentally called himself or something. I have no idea, but it doesn't seem that she came back home at all to give that phone a call, and it's coming from inside the apartment where he is. Like, it doesn't make sense. So anyways, Ron is like, okay, you know, he gets ready to go to work. Now, he goes up to work, and mind you, the first plane hit the towers at about, I believe it was 8:45 a.m. So, yeah, the first plane hit the tower at 8:46 a.m. And at this time, Ron is already at work. Now, well, he's in the hospital, so he has to stay there. Like, he can't leave. I mean, I'm sure it was chaotic. He didn't actually leave the hospital until the evening time. Everybody was trying to contact their loved ones to see, where are you? Are you okay? I would imagine Sneha's parents trying to frantically contact their daughter. This was big news. You live 7 minutes away. Are you okay? Ron finishes work in the evening still, you know, has not received anything from Sneha. And he's trying to get back to his apartment. Now, the way that he would get back to his apartment was actually blocked off due to what was going on and the chaos of these collapsed buildings, and it was blocked off, but he was only able to get through because of his medical credentials. You know, they were letting in people that could help out giving medical care to those who were injured. But Ron wasn't trying, not that he wasn't trying to help people, that sounds bad, but he was trying to get home to see where his wife was. He was trying to find his wife. So he gets through and he's able to get back to his apartment. Now, the windows of the apartment were left open, and the apartment was just covered in, like, the dust and the soot and all of that stuff from the Twin Tower, from the explosion. And this would give clues as if to anybody came home, especially after this tragedy. So he looks on the ground and all he sees are paw prints from the cat, which says that she's not there and she didn't come back. And this is when it gets scary for everybody, because they're like, what the heck? Where is she? The last official documented sighting that we know where she was at that Century 21 store. After this, we do not not know for sure where Sneha was, how far she would have gone. Couldn't have been that far, so it's presumed that maybe, so the first tower hit at 8:46. Typically she would be back at home between 7 and 9. So because of these hours, they're saying that maybe when she was out, that first plane hit, and it stopped her from getting home, but also she was rushing to the aid of people trying to help them. But this is what is presumed to have happened to Sneha. Now we can kind of gather up a few different possibilities. This is one possibility, that she died as a result of, the towers falling, just got caught up in it, which there was never any physical proof of her. Nothing was ever found from her. Keep in mind, it has been, 23 years, and they still have about 1,000 more people to identify. Yeah, literally about 1,000 people have still not been identified till this day. So this is a possibility that she is one of those 1,100 people that have not been identified. However, her parents seem to really have been pushing for her name to be added to the list of people who died as a result of this terrorist attack on 9/11. And even her husband, after working with a private investigator, was pushing for her to be added to the list, because to them there is no other conclusion. How did she just go missing? A theory is that she just wanted a new life because she was struggling so much in that situation that she was in. But even that doesn't make sense. There are no money trails that, give any clues that she may have been saving up, moving money around, doing anything to plan for a new life. And she was so close to her mom, talking to her every day. Now, third possibility, and there could be many. Third possibility is that due to her habits of going out frequently, meeting strangers at bars, going home with them, she may have come across the wrong person. Unfortunately, at the time when, if there was a crime committed anywhere around this area of the Twin Towers, that it just covered up what really may have happened, or maybe there was some foul play involved. So I do think it's highly probable that she just did die there as a result of those buildings collapsing. I do, and I also have a strong feeling that maybe she just met the wrong person, but something would have shown up, right? I don't know. It's just, these are the worst. Cold cases are the worst. It's just what happened to you? What, literally, no answers ever. I mean, jeez. She could have gotten herself together. Literally, she could have gotten herself together, even if it took some time. She had a full life ahead of her. The thing about 30 is that, I mean, you're still figuring out who you are, and are you doing what you really want to be doing? Are you living the life that is really fulfilling and right to you? And it's not just 30, it could be 40, 50s, I mean, whatever. We're always asking ourselves these questions, and there's highs and there's lows, and she was just going through a low moment of not really knowing what her future would look like, and just really having some internal struggles, sadly, that unfortunately we will never wasn't at a good point in her life. But that's the beauty of life, is that as it continues, because life has to continue, things will eventually fall into place, and it's just too bad that that just couldn't happen for her. It's just too bad. I hope that now I don't think a family could ever get closure. Like, it's been 23 years, and there's no proof that anything will ever change, and knowing actually what happened to her and getting answers. I mean, okay, who knows? Maybe when they're able to identify the rest of the 1,000 people that are allowed to identify, maybe it will show up that she was actually there. We still don't know. It's still possible to have that proof, but it takes such a long time, and that is a hope. I think that if they can figure out who those 1,000 people are, and she's there, that can at least give some answers to the family and, her husband. 23 years on, I hope that he was able to create a life for himself, moving forward, that he could say, even though, like, life threw him like the biggest curveball, that he found some peace in his life moving forward in the years that came after. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I cannot wait to see you